we have 100 PTs, right? Those 100 PTs have a patient, me, coming in to them with right knee pain. Of those 100 PTs, what percent, all right, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can see all you guys, because you guys have got to hold something up. What percent of those 100 PTs are going to start, are most likely to start, or going to want to start, or again, I'm a PT, or let's just say this, those 100 PTs see 100 patients with knee pain. How many of them start typically on the injured side? Hold it up. 10 means 100, 9 means 90, 8 means 80. So we've got 90 to 100%. We've got 90%. We've got 80%. James, I just can't see your fingers. We got 100%. We got 100%. We got 90%. Looks like you're putting up 9 of them, James. Connie, what are you putting up?
9.
9. Okay, good. Typical response on that. All right, so now, I guess I don't need to, you guys don't need to see my PowerPoint. I'll have it up for myself. All right, so now, I then asked this. 100 PTs treating 100 patients each, okay? And we noticed that the arm, now we're going to shift up to shoulder just because you can see my shoulder. It doesn't go well forward flexion. Or I do a MOB, and I'm assessing the joint, and I find out it doesn't like AP. What percent of them, with the 100 patients they see, are going to go into restriction to treat them? Hold your fingers up. So 100%, 90%, 80%. I think you got 90, 80, 90, 90. Are you looking at 100, James? I think so. Okay, just spread your fingers out. I'll be able to see them more because it's dark. There you go. All right, exactly. Typical response is that typical thing. Now, I ask you this. Are you one of them? Yes or no? Don't take, well, it depends and stuff. Again, you treat 100 patients, and I am that 100 patients. Am I going to see you pretty much treating like that? Yes or no? Shake your head. I keep shaking it. All right. So good. We've located you. All right. You guys see what you located. All right. Fine. That's where you are. All right. Now, I have to show you something is that, right, so you're in the group. Okay, so now I have a patient come in, and they say they've been to 4 providers, 4 of you. You all use a different technique, though. Nicole, Krista, Wendy, and Linda, they all went to see. You all use a different technique. Right? And all of you shook your head yes. And they go, I've been to 4 therapists, and they didn't get me better. Or they go to the doctor and say, I've been to 4 therapists, they didn't get me better. Right? And I'm telling the doctor, or I'm trying to tell the doctor that I'm better, or right, I'm different, or whatever. I hate the word better. What does that mean? And I say to the patient, I say, look, I know Nicole, I know Krista, I know Wendy, I know Linda. They're good therapists, without a doubt. All right, this isn't brain surgery of us moving around the body. So if you've been to 4 places, and let's say one's a chiropractor, whatever it is, I said, I'll bet you this. They kind of stayed in this quadrant. Now, again, I'm not trying to, of the 100 PTs, if they'd seen 100, I said, did they stay kind of maybe neck, maybe this area, maybe down here? Yeah, I said, cool. We're going to explore. I said, then that area probably is not the cause or the thing that's going to change your shoulder getting better. Does that make sense? So if you saw 4 people, they all stayed in that area with a different technique, but doesn't it kind of mean that maybe that area is not going to be the thing that changes it? And they look at me, they go, it didn't even enter the picture. It was unconscious unawareness that's what they were doing. Is unconscious unawareness that there were other areas that might bring it about. Right? Fair? And I say, okay, cool. No big deal. Let me give you an example of something. It's called the deer in the woods. Right? So if I have a deer in the woods that sprains its back right leg, right? What happens with that back right leg? What weight bearing wise? What happens weight bearing wise? picks it up, less weight bearing. You guys can unmute yourself to talk about this. So what happens to the other 3 legs?
You would put more pressure on the other 3 legs.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask this, and you guys are going to have to unmute yourselves because you got to answer this. So what's causing this back right leg to heal? Unmute yourself and just, it's causing the back right leg to heal.
It's not putting any pressure on it, so it allows it to heal.
Good. I'm not looking for any scientific kind of stuff. I'm not looking for you to say whatever. I'm just looking for simple things like that.
Weight bearing on the other 3.
All right. I don't usually get that, but let's just pretend Jane didn't say that yet. Okay. So most people will say, by not weight bearing on this leg, without even paying attention to this. Because the truth of the matter is, okay, it's very rare that somebody like Jane will say, well, weight bearing on the other 3. What's making it heal is the 4 things combined, not using this and these 3. Can we kind of agree on that part of it? Right? Yeah, okay. I'll run with that story with you, Tom. All right, so there we've got. But most of the time, we only see this. And therefore, when we're going to go through treatment, what do we say? We go and do the shoulder. We do the one thing, the one area, and ignore the other 3. But what do I mean by that? And I'm going to show you this in a diagram here in a second, is that could I place 2 times as much weight on these 3 and heal this one faster? Because if we have not weight bearing much or not weight bearing at all on that, weight bearing more on these 3, might there be something that if we weight bear on these more, can we set that experiment up?
Yeah.
Is that maybe not with a deer, but let's say the human person, all right? Can we set the person up that sprained their ankle, right ankle, and do some more, twice as much stuff on the other thing and see if it heals faster? Faster just being 2 sets of something and see whether it starts changing it. And that's what we did. And we're like, this is stupid crazy. All right, this is why now I'm going to bring back my chart here. All right, so what we've got here I thought I had it. There it is. But before we do, let me just ask something. What is, if this is the piece of pie, let's just say here, number 1. Number 2 is here. I'm not sure I can I'm going to very quickly put something down here. Very quickly put something down here. Thought it was. See, this always messes up. 3. And then we have, 4 over here. Okay, what is the opposite of number 1? What do you say it aloud? You can hold up your fingers.
3.
Okay. 2.
It's any of them.
Any of that.
Really?
Any of that. Okay, so tell me, what opposite is this one?
Right and left. Right and left.
What's this one?
Top and bottom.
What's this one?
Diagonal.
Funny, most people will ask number 3, right? So right in the center, we'll talk about it now. I'm going to go a little bit more. This is the y-axis. This is the x-axis. I'm not asking you to remember math and stuff, but I just want to share a little something about this. If you there's a z-axis. Not sure if you remember it or not, but there's a rotational axis, and there's 2 of them. You can rotate left, rotate right, but if I put a head, 2 hands, and 2 feet, it lets you see that the opposite of left to right is x-axis, is top to bottom. And if I just take this and I cut you, so if I cut you with a sword right between your eyes, you flop to the half and you got a right left. If I take a sword and cut you at the belly button, your top half flops and your bottom half flops. If I cut you diagonally, the opposite of the right shoulder, all right, is the left. Opposite of the left hand. Right hand is the left foot. right? And then what we have is we have a center core. We have a center to all this. This is our center balance, center core, center whatever. It is the same thing. When we are assessing a joint, we're trying to see how it's moving around this ball, okay, area of this ball, the circumference of stuff, and we're trying to move it around. That's one joint. When we're looking at the body, we're actually moving our arms. That's actually giving us rotation, right? By moving our arms, right? We're not moving our arms here, but really, if we're coming along, they are. Our extremities are probably what rotates. It doesn't matter. I just want you to see this idea. Okay, I kind of see where you're going with it, or maybe not going with it, but I see what you mean. So now I have the body operating as a joint with lots of joints in it, and a lot of muscles and trajectories. And it seems to be we have a center of balance that occurs. We probably could take calculus and figure out exactly where it is. But let's say now I sprain my right ankle. Here. I sprain my right ankle. I don't mean this goes down here. What I mean is if you sprain your right ankle, would you not all agree that the muscles tighten in that leg and it probably is pulling more that way on our tissues of our body because we're all connected. When we do one thing on one thing, it begins, let's just say we're perfect except for that sprain, we're being pulled in that direction. Right now, when I weight bear more on the left side, and I'm not weight bearing on my arms and stuff yet more, but I just sprain the right ankle and I weight bear a ton on the left side, can we kind of agree that that means it's being pulled this direction, but it's not still back in the center? There's been enough. You haven't used your upper arms maybe enough. So somebody might say, but Tom, I sprained my right ankle. I've been using my left a lot. Aren't I better? I go, yeah, you're probably better than you were, but you're just not well. So what do I have to do? I then have to go and use my other two extremities, which can mean your trunk also, to pull it back up. Is everybody kind of at a beginner experience of, does that make sense? I can't see it. Anybody that doesn't make sense on? Or let me ask you this. I'm going to do this a couple ways, and then afterwards, if you don't, let me know, and I can repeat it or do something different. Now let's take another direction. So that was just weight bearing on the left doesn't get you back in center. But doing all three now, maybe a lot over here and somewhat up here pulls it back in. Now I'm going to come back here again. Couldn't I just pull? What if the trajectories of that pull goes right up the quad somehow and it pulls into my fascia or whatever, and maybe by just using the left arm, I totally pull it back to center. What if I use my top to bottom? I use more of my right arm and then a little bit more of the other two. Maybe that'll help pull it back. It depends on how did I sprain my ankle? How was my fall? What was I catching? What was I doing? And that's what we believe is happening here. That's why this left, right, opposite stuff works. And for those of you, though, who have only been treating, watch this, those of you who, because if you located yourself as being on the injured side into restriction, it means that you're one of 8 quadrants. If you know, like, so that patient saw all 4 of you and you were pretty much treating, whether you're doing Mulligan or Maitland or manipulation, you were pretty much treating into restriction. If I said to you, if you do a joint mode and it fails going into restriction, if you will just, is your second thing, not switch to a new technique, but switch going into ease. So now instead of going to AP, go into ease. Find the motion. Find the motion that it really loves. Either do it with motion, with them doing it, or you do it. So you might find inferior, superior. Superior feels really good. And so you do it. And now I've just doubled your abilities to help someone to get results. So just by knowing where you are, the most 100 PTs, 90% of them are sitting right into restriction. When they go take a new technique, they take another technique of restriction, into restriction. Mobilization, manipulation, muscle energy, oftentimes into restriction. Just going and taking something into ease, which is a strain counter-strain philosophy, all right? A little different, but I don't want to get into everything, is into ease. Now, if I give you the other side, you now at least can be a 50% complete therapist by understanding this doesn't say you have to do it with motion testing, them doing it. You can do this manually too. Opposite side over to manual. So I've had people now, and I've got it on the Facebook page. The guy said, Tom, you've been talking a lot more about manual just to get people who are 100% manual therapists into the gamut of the methodology. This is a methodology in which I took and did corrective exercise with. You can take it and do manual therapy with. How? I have a lady that comes in with a 9 out of 10 epicondylitis. I do a 2 to 3 minute friction massage over here and see what happens. I guess you could do it a 2 to 3 minute friction massage. The opposite, the other thing in your body that moves like your elbows or your knees. Look, they'll go 180 degrees. You got 2 bones down here. I do it. Maybe I could do a friction massage somewhere down on the knee and it works. I haven't tried that one yet. I need to though. So then down here, you go top to bottom, ease into restriction. You go to the other one, ease into restriction. I now have you being able to treat with one technique 7 times more effectively. Now, there's some techniques that use the entire kinematic chain, right? Like Gray Cook or Gary Gray, I always forget what the FMS is. But what they don't do is they don't take it to the ease, into ease. McKenzie will take a wrist now, and they'll do it, and they'll find the direction of preference and treat into it. The thing is, sometimes the direction of preference isn't on that side. And so it just expands McKenzie into using the other extremities. Just about every technique you learn now, dry needling. I got a trap. It's really messed up. Okay, and I find out that it's most tender or most tight, superior to inferior. So I put the needle in. It doesn't work. Okay, so I went into restriction on the trap, the direction of ease. Now I'm going to go ease. I'm going to move it around and go, wow, it really moves easily this way. Stick the needle in that way. It may work. Then you come over to the opposite side, and you go, wow, I'm just going to go in the same direction that it didn't go over here, and you find out it works. Or maybe I'm going to go into the thing that's the hardest over here, or the easiest, right? And now I've opened it up to that. Now I go, well, I'm going to dry needle in something that looks like the trap in the lower part of the body. It has the same angles. Maybe the psoas does. Maybe the glutes do. I stick some needles in there. Wow, I all of a sudden do a psoas, and it releases the shoulder. If you like a Graston technique and you use the instruments or the scrapers, as I call them, and you're used to scraping the bicep because they have a problem here, well, you could try the tricep, which a lot of times you do. Come over the other side. Go to the hamstrings. See what happens. Or just motion test them. Find the asymmetries. Find where they're good, where they're bad, and treat it. Fair enough? Cool? Mm-hmm. And so that's the biggest picture that I have when I'm thinking about how in the world is this working?